right, I just want to take a quick straw poll. How many people in the room are somehow involved working in digital marketing, so social media, video, email? Oh, wait. But you do it either by yourself or on a team of less than 5, my people. All right. We're really going for you all today, but we hope to have takeaways for everybody. So let's just dive in here. So I'm Katie.
I'm Rob.
And we jokingly call ourselves #World's Finest. Dates back to our wedding vows.
So we used to call ourselves Team of Supremo.
Team of Supremo.
Yeah. And then I thought teams break up, we're not going to. And then I wanted to find a name for us that really was very literate, really spoke to the ages. And I found out that when Batman and Superman team up, they're called the world's finest. And so Katie is absolutely Batman.
Totally Batman. Yeah, totally Batman. So we're gonna play you guys a quick video here just to kind of set the stage, take you a little more into the WWE world, and then also how Rob and I work together.
This year at WrestleMania 35 Access in New York, I had a feeling of triumph. Triumph because, and I'm sorry this is difficult, triumph because last time I was in town in New York for WrestleMania 29, I had driven all the way from Kansas City and I was 3 miles from the venue where I was going to be showing my work at. And I got T-boned by a semi. The police and the EMTs, they told me I shouldn't have even survived, let alone come out with just 1 scratch on my body. But all of my hard work, my truck, everything was totaled. And through the goodwill of this community, I went on to, at that time, have a big show.
It sounds cliche, but my heart really did stop. Finding out what happened and then hearing how distraught he was and that I couldn't be there physically with him was just.
WrestleMania 30, I'm debuting with WWE at Access, but I'm still out in the hallway out front of Access, right? And it took a few years. I had to prove myself. I had to pay those dues. And over time, the exhibit at Access has just grown and grown, right? And it comes down to you guys, your support of the art. Is what continues to make everyone have faith in me, right?
I'm in a fortunate position in that not only am I a wrestling fan, but I've gotten to know the women who were in the main event, and look at what hard work can achieve. Look at what really is possible. It's not a pipe dream. These women put in the work. They've got the talent, the skill, the dedication, and this is the results.
So this year at Access, beyond just doing the live art and selling the prints, you know, I had collaborations with Tops and with 2K, and had some major outlets cover me. And again, it's because you guys are showing interest in what I'm doing. That's why I'm able to continue to grow it. And so, yes, I came back triumphant, but I also came back even more grateful than I started out, because you guys continue to make this happen. And I say this as much as I can, and it just never feels like enough, but thank you. Thank you for letting me do this.
We were able to look back at just a devastatingly low point and celebrate together all the good that's happened since then. She was a treasure. We're going to talk about these videos here in just a few minutes. This is actually part of Rob's marketing strategy, where he just does everything, shoots, plans, edits, and so we'll dive a little more into that. But that was WrestleMania 35, which was this year. Rob, I want to take us back in the time machine 7 years ago, and you had just launched Artist of Champions on Kickstarter, and at that time you had decided to really focus on Twitter and Facebook. So talk to us a little bit about how your social media looked in those early days, and I know you weren't terribly active on those channels before that, so was there any kind of a learning curve that you had to adapt to?
Yeah, starting out, I was one of those people that hated social media. Like it just sounded like the inner circle of hell to me. But I quickly saw that it was a very valuable tool for reaching out to people and to get what I'm doing out there. So at first, I had kind of sort of conned my way into a social media job at a company. Like I said, yeah, I know how to do that, and then I got the job, and I get home, I'm like, okay, Katie, you need to teach me how to do this stuff. And through that, I very quickly learned a lot of the skills needed. And as I was doing that, and I was helping this title insurance company get a lot of traction, I was thinking, man, like, if I were doing this for my art, it would like really take off. And then I was like, why aren't I? And started on that. That was around the time that Kickstarter started up. And I put together a project that I'm still kind of working on, but it was to get me started, where I'm painting every world champion going all the way back to 1905. And I was able to raise $20,000 in a month doing that. Allowed me to quit the day job and get to work, and a big part of that was, of course, with social. And I had been doing the paintings at first as proof of concept, and then I started, I saw the wrestlers that were very active on social, and I would put up paintings of them, tag them, or of old-time wrestlers that inspired the current day ones, to where it would, get more of an emotional response from them, so they would share it. And then, so by the time I started the Kickstarter project, I had built up a bit of goodwill within the wrestling community, because people had started seeing the art, and then it very quickly snowballed from there.
And talk to you for a minute, because I think one of the challenges that a lot of us face is there's just so many flippant platforms out there, and it's like, good Lord, where do I go? Where do I spend my time and my energy? And we talk so much about knowing your audience and being where your audience is. So, I know, I think it was a few years ago now at this point, you added Instagram. Is there something, obviously the visual medium is going to be just a perfect fit for you, but was there anything else about that channel in particular that made you, really focus there? And now I think it's really your biggest channel.
It is. And the thing that I did there was exactly what you just said. I paid attention to where my audience was, and also what my content is. My content are pictures, and that was very perfect for Instagram. The only thing that I'm sure everyone else in the room wishes to do is that you can put links in Instagram, but now with stories you can, which is even better. But I will get, I don't know, maybe 10 times the traction that I do on Instagram that I do with any other platforms.
And then as you were building that, we've got some examples here, and sorry my slides aren't fitting the screen, we'll just move on from that. But when did you really see your following start to explode, and then you're adding followers by the hundreds and thousands?
There's maybe only a couple times where it just really took off, where like maybe I was doing something with 2K or WWE's main account shared something. Otherwise, it's just been 7 years of working at it. Continuing to put out content that people are engaging in, constantly looking at what I'm putting out, if it's getting a reaction or not. And yeah, like I treat each new follower as important to me as if I get 1,000 new ones. Someone that sees the stuff enough that they want to say, I want to keep seeing more, that's very important to me.
And that's a great transition into the next question, which is to actually talk about that messaging. So even though you have a large following online, and even as that following grew, you never really, you made some tweaks here and there, but you didn't change your approach or your branding. You really, since day one, have focused on that individual follower, made that personal connection. Can you talk a little more about why that's been important to you and how you've seen that kind of pay off?
Yes, I treat my messaging like so many times you'll see people say you guys or you all, that sort of thing, and it's like they're putting it out to all their followers. But the person on the other end of the screen, they're not interacting with the content like all of you in a room right now. It's very individual. You come into this alone. And so I tailor my messaging so that it is directed to the person reading it. Occasionally I may do something a little bit broader, especially if it's on, like say if I have a new thing out that people can buy. Sometimes I may do a bit of a wider message on that, but otherwise I keep it as if it's more a conversation like you're standing there talking to me, or it's a personal letter that I'm sending to you.
And I know another challenge, especially those of us who are by ourselves or on small teams, our to-do list, right? They're so long, there's so much we have to do. You've got to balance that workload. And Rob, I know that a few years ago, again, kind of as the popularity of your art's rising and your brand is growing, then you start adding live shows and appearances, you're at conventions, you're painting live. But despite that, despite the growing workload, you're still active on social every day because I know that you really focus on being in the moment. So has it been a challenge as that workload grows to still make sure you're kind of hitting those core channels and getting at least some content out every day?
Yes, with the majority of the platforms where I'm using it, I try to get something out daily. So especially Twitter and Instagram are the two where I try to have at least one thing. Twitter a little bit more. With how quickly your content gets buried on there, it's good to put something out every now and then. And it really integrates well with what I do during the day, which is painting. And instead of sitting there and literally watching paint dry, I figure I can do something else. And so while,
multitasking.
Yes, I get a coat down and then I'll check social, I'll check my email to, see if there's any kind of customer service things. But it's very much staying in that moment, but continuing to move forward. As long as I'm working at something, I'm getting something done.
And that's a great point. I know, I'm a writer. I know there's a lot of writers in the room too, and we're not watching paint dry. But I think that's a good message, though, is maybe to just kind of take a look at your day. And is there just kind of a natural stopping point in between tasks where you could as Rob said, just kind of pop in, maybe look at your, you know, your interactions, your mentions, or even, you know, post something new, and then, you know, give yourself that little bit of a brain break, you know, before you transition into something else. And Rob, you kind of touched on this already, but talk a little bit. God, I hate that movie.
It's the best movie. I don't know how our marriage works.
We don't like the same music. We like wrestling.
You like wrestling? Wrestling brings people together.
Wrestling brings people together. So you really already touched on this, Rob, but let's go back to the daily routine a little more, because WWE gives you some different opportunities where they have their weekly shows. So we've got Monday Night Raw, we've got SmackDown. It's actually tonight, moving
On Fox.
from Tuesday, starting tonight, Fridays on Fox, which is a big deal. They also have a monthly pay-per-view that's on a Sunday. How do you work those events into the mix and kind of piggyback off that established presence to feed that energy into what you specifically are doing?
Well, I'm very fortunate in that WWE is one of the most socially engaged shows on television. They kill it. Like back when Clout was a thing, they were one of the two brands that had a perfect score. It's amazing. With that, like for the shows, they'll have hashtags that they'll have up on the screen during the show. Sometimes they'll change them for a specific match. And that makes it real easy for me to engage with my target audience during that time. The wrestling fans, especially the WWE fans, they're watching those shows live during that time. And it makes it really easy for me to do something very in the moment. They're very timely. But like say if there's a big match happening, I can put up 2 paintings of those wrestlers, and people will have more of an emotional attachment to it. It also makes it more personal. It's like they're watching the show with me sitting on the couch next to them almost.
And that's a good point too, where we could all kind of take a look again at our audiences or even our companies or our clients, and are there any of those kind of communal activities that we could, you know, tap into. Hashtags, obviously we all know about the power of social listening and really tracking what people are saying, you know, being a part of that conversation. But yeah, just hundreds of thousands of people all talking about the same thing at once, and then Rob can just jump in and sometimes be a little snarky, have some fun.
Right, but also with that, I officially work with WWE, so I have to keep in mind too that I keep my messaging appropriate, right? Like WWE doesn't cuss, so I don't cuss. If I see something in a match that I don't particularly care for, I'm not going to call that out because I see these people at least once a month. I'm working with them, and I've had the Big Show, who's a 7'5" monster in my face yelling at me. I don't want to do that again. So, you know, I have to keep those things in mind, but, you know, overall matching the tone that WWE itself puts out.
So let's talk about having a little fun, because you came up with something pretty clever in response to a common question that you got. I'm going to play a quick video for us to set the stage.
Well, let's lead into it.
Okay.
We have the video there because I'm pretty sure no one here is going to know who this character is, the Shockmaster. But the question I get all the time is like, oh, are you ever going to paint so-and-so? Or have you ever painted The Rock? And I used to say, who's that? Right? Like, and I would have people like really believe that I didn't know who The Undertaker was. It was great. But then I started saying, no, I only make paintings of the Shockmaster. And for the hardcore wrestling fans, it's hilarious, and we'll show you my record.
Parker is going to shock the world because he is none other than the Shockmaster!
Oh no.
That was not planned.
Most failed entrance in wrestling history. history?
Yeah, they decided we're gonna put glitter paint on a stormtrooper helmet and have this guy bust through a wall, but someone put like a reinforced beam at the bottom and didn't bother to tell the guy. So he tripped right over it. So that's become a thing now. Anytime someone asks me like a very obvious question, I'll respond with, I only make paintings of the Shockmaster. And over time, it's really caught on. And a lot of times I think people are even setting me up for it. Like, they're like, just so they can get, you know, the Shockmaster response from me.
And, I mean, tell everybody your cool story real quick from this summer in Canada.
I got to like do like a 2-hour limo drive with the Shockmaster, and he's so on board with it. Like it's like the most coverage he's ever gotten. So it's like he ended up becoming a whole other wrestler. Like they dropped that thing immediately, and now like he'll do appearances where he went and got some like glitter spray paint, put it over a stormtrooper helmet, and he'll make appearances where people will ask like, you know, can I take a picture with you as the Shockmaster?
And I know it's hard to read over here on the side, but let's talk for just a second because there's so many people who have responded to this, and it's a great example of kind of looking for ways to have fun with your own brands or your clients, and especially Rob. You know, this was his answer to really almost kind of a pain point. Like, God, am I going to get asked this question again? Come on, people. So he kind of, you know, flipped it on its head, and now it's a thing. But there are some interactions like this one that I know hard to see there on the side where maybe the people aren't in on the joke or they think that you're being very serious. So there is a little bit of a risk, but I think all in all, it's really just about having fun rather than, you know, alienating people.
Right, for sure. Like, as a way to insult someone. But like I've got a series now I'm doing where I'm painting different wrestlers as letters from the alphabet. And people get upset that their favorite wrestler whose name started with the letter D wasn't the one that I picked. And so they'll say, why didn't you pick Damien Demento? And I'll say, oh, I only make paintings of the Shockmaster, I'm sorry. Even though I obviously had a painting of someone else, it's a nice way to evade it instead of saying, like, well, I make the art that I want to make, and this is the one that I chose, blah, 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 right? Like, instead it's just kind of a fun thing. But it's also, like, on me to kind of read the room, too. Like, if it's a very genuine question, I'll give a very genuine answer. But if it's something that I've already answered, like, 100 times in that same thread, then I may, you know, have a little more fun with it.
So we're going to come back to social media throughout the discussion, but let's shift over to video because this is a huge part. Take us back to when your weekly show got started, because this was another thing, like your art itself and like your social media, where you took the initiative to start and then WWE kind of jumped on it later. So how did that work out?
Right, and it goes back to what I was talking about with picking the right platforms for what I'm using. I was really into podcasts at the time. That was kind of the moment of the podcast explosion. And I thought like, wow, you know, this could be fun. I could do things with this, except what I do is visuals, so maybe it's not so great. And then I thought, well, what about like a YouTube show, right? Like Bob Ross, but pro wrestling. And that was something I started on my own. I started up my own channel. And just like with the art, I started on my own. But within about a year, WWE brought me under the fold for the art part. And then only like a couple months later, I think they saw what I was doing. And they asked me to put it on their channel, which if it's not the top channel on YouTube, it's one of the top. And it's like very highly engaged. And I average like 50,000 to 100,000 views per video. And so I've been doing video for about 6.5 years. It's still not easy for me. I overall don't enjoy doing it, but I know that it's by far the most visibility that I get for what I do. So I put in that work. I'm constantly learning how to improve the things. you see here, like, I'll normally have at least 2 cameras, and because like the shooting is not very hard for me because I just turn the cameras on while I'm painting, and from there it's more the work is like the editing. But what I'll do is I'll have 2 cameras, I'll move them around while I'm working. It's more of a time-lapse thing, and then go in and edit it together. But constantly trying to keep it fresh because I think this Sunday's video will be the 278th, 279th episode every week.
280th.
Huh?
280th.
280th. So every week, putting something out, and I haven't missed a week. So that's like, I have to make a new painting, but I have to edit all this video together too, and then get it submitted over and have it to WWE's level of quality. And keeping that in mind, they're constantly improving, so that means I have to constantly be paying attention to what they're doing to match what they do.
And I wanted to kind of throw up a picture of the setup, because I don't know if anybody in this room is in my boat, but I'll be really candid. Video is a struggle for me.
Me too.
And yeah. But more and more clients, I mean, it's really like, you've got to do it. People respond so well to it. It is so versatile, it's powerful. And it's been great for me, honestly, watching Rob do this, because it's given me a little more confidence in seeing that, equipment is important, but you definitely don't necessarily need to have, a professional video studio in your office. You can see here, he's got the 2 main cameras and then a couple additional lighting sources. Lots of windows so you can bring in natural light as is appropriate depending on what you're doing. But, and then your editor of choice is iMovie.
Well, it's not so much choice, I use iMovie because it's about all I know how to do. But also, I'm able to do WWE quality videos using just iMovie that comes built in on my laptop.
And we've talked about, so we did say that this coming week will be the 280th episode of Canvas to Canvas, which now makes it the longest running original show on WWE's YouTube channel. You've had...
It doubles the second longest running.
Yes, awesome. You've had more than 13 million cumulative views in counting, and you really touched on this a little bit, but let's dive deeper into keeping it fresh. And that includes more often now working directly with the talent. So you talked before about kind of proof of concept and creating something and then kind of watching it pay off. So talk to us specifically about how you can now collaborate with these incredibly visible people to again lend their support and their recognition to what you do.
Yeah, I at first did this just to promote my own art, but then pretty soon it became an audience of its own. There's a lot of young people around the world that are painting now because of watching these videos, and the audience stayed high and occasionally will really peak. Like I've had some that have had like over 500,000 views just on one video. And WWE's very happy with that. Sometimes it performs too well, where I'm outperforming other videos that they're putting up. At one time I was outperforming the Bella twins. Yeah, so they moved me to a different day. But they're very happy with that. And so over time I thought, like, hey, could we have some of the WWE superstars interact with this? Because most of it I'm doing just in my studio, but I'm also at WWE events about once a month, and I have a lot of friends within WWE that I could reach out to. And so over time, the wrestlers started doing just little bits. Like you saw in the video we played at the beginning where several people are saying not bad. That's the thing that I do at the end of each video. I'll say, here's the finished piece, not bad. It's the Midwestern humility thing. But I'm sitting here talking about how great I am. Yes, I'm very humble. I, over time, earned that trust with WWE. They saw that I wasn't misusing the wrestlers in anything. And then eventually, they're so busy with everything, I just started saying, hey, I've got a camera with me, can I just shoot this? And they're like, sure, what are you gonna do? And I lay it out. And now it's like, oh, Rob's over there producing and directing his own thing, and that's fine, because we know what he's doing. I'm like, we can trust him.
So 280 weeks of video, that's a lot of video. What is your coolest canvas to canvas moment?
Boy, the coolest. Well, there was Kevin Owens destroying one of my paintings. We're all friends here, we're all in on this. The rest of it is fiction. So I planned that out with him, right? Like I did a painting, I did it on the type of surface where I knew it would look really dramatic when he bashed it over the easel. But that like, ended up becoming like a meme. Like if you search my name in like the GIFs on Twitter, that thing shows up. And we've had like Jeff Hardy where we worked on a painting together. And then also like overall the coolest thing is the McMahon family has built this billion-dollar global multi-generational company that I now use to put out videos of my cats. This was the opening to a video. Okay, and that was our best girl monkey. Down for a second, she passed away back in November, and to WWE's credit, they did the amazing thing that they let me do a little memoriam at the beginning of a video for her passing. And like executives with the company reached out to pass on their condolences. We've gotten to be able to work together that closely.
So we're about to go into email, but I want to take another messaging break just because I think that's so important, right? Like our messaging and our, drives all of our content. It guides what we're going to say, guides what we're going to do. And Rob, you've really kind of found a balance because I think that's that's another thing too that a lot of companies can struggle with because most of us at the end of the day, we're trying to sell a product or a service. But of course we don't want to come off as spammy. Consumers now, they're savvier than ever. They're doing all their research. They can kind of, see through, a kind of fake approach. They want that authenticity. And I feel like, you've really been able to kind of combine your wrestling expertise and your art expertise with that personality, combined with that individual conversation, and you're delivering kind of this cumulative experience. So can you give us just a little more insight into how you approach that and kind of how you're combining all of these elements to guide what you're creating?
I try to be very genuine with everything. I'm big on the belief that with any kind of social media marketing, whatever, I want it to feel like it's me there talking with you in person. It goes back to like when I worked at a gas station and I would talk to a customer there. I treat it no different now, right? Like I want to have that expertise that like when they come to me, I know what I'm talking about, but I want to be very genuine to where I'm taking ownership of, like say if there's a customer service issue, they know that I'm the one taking care of it. With art overall, yes, the paintings are the most important part, but as my career continues to grow, that makes my work worth more. And so I want to show everyone that I'm continuing to work at that to make their investment in me mean something.
And it's interesting too, I don't know if a lot of people in this room do kind of see their digital work extend into the quote-unquote real world in different ways, but obviously with Rob, what comes to mind is the shows. And so I feel like you've taken that strategy that's your social, your marketing strategy, and you've extended it to the in-person experience where it's again inviting people in, they're watching you paint live, they can come back and check their progress, they're able to have those interactions with you. Has that been a thought at all about how you kind of extend what you've built online and then actually bring that to the face-to-face interaction?
Yeah, it's really been hand in hand. Like I really, in my mind, don't think of those as separate things. They're doing the same thing whether it's in person or on a screen.
All right, let's talk about the third component in your digital mix, which is email. It's the newest edition. You launched your weekly email newsletter, comes out on Sunday mornings in 2016, I believe. How did that start? How did you decide, you know what I'm really missing right now is an email?
It's the thing that, okay, you're walking into a movie theater and it's the stadium seating and everyone is walking to the left. No one's walking to the right. So if you go to the left with everyone else, you're gonna have to wait. You're not gonna get the best seat. But if you go to the right, you can just walk right in and get the best seat, right? If everyone else is zigging, I want to be zagging. And definitely at that time, and I think still kind of now, overall, people have abandoned email. But going back to that whole thing of the end consumer is experiencing this personally. Email is the very best way to do that. And the way that I do it is, again, I go like super personal on it. Like, it's like I almost treat it like a handwritten letter that you're sending home if you've moved away or to an old friend. Just like catching up on here's what happened in the last week, here's what I have coming up. And it's, you know, like I'm either talking about myself or to you, the reader. And I can go a little more long form or a lot more long form depending on the week and where my brain is at. But to really engage with people that are the most into what I'm doing. And for a lot of my readers, and I mean a lot of them, it's become their Sunday morning ritual. Like they get up, they'll drink coffee, and they'll read the newsletter. And and like every Sunday morning now, like people will interact straight away on Twitter, like, love what you talked about here, or, and like I break it down in there like different sections. Of course, everything that I do is about the art, and the art is up top, and that's what the main chunk care about. But then I can go a little more in depth. I can talk about what I was thinking about, what influenced me for that painting. I can talk about what videos I have coming up. I can share the prior week's video. And also with the art that I'm sharing, the newsletter comes out 3 hours before the art debuts in that week's Canvas to Canvas. So I'm letting people have something special for themselves before everyone else. It makes them feel exclusive. And then I can talk about other things that I liked that week. Like if I write a good book, sell a good show or movie. And then at the end, it's more of a personal message, like here's what's happening in my life, here's what I can share with you. And I try to treat the content like a different genre almost. Like a lot of email marketing can almost feel like a grocery store insert in a newspaper, which is very valuable. Like that's always the part that like my mom pulls out first to see what she can get, right? However, then you want to have those articles in there to really get people to engage with it. And that's what I do more with my.
And what's interesting with your email is you know, because a lot of times too, that another struggle that we all have, and Rob, you're living this too, is that our marketing and our social and everything that we're doing, it doesn't stay constant. Like with your videos, as you just said, you're always looking to, you know, try something new, push that envelope, you know, not let that get stagnant. But with your email, it really seems like you kind of hit on that good balance of sections. You've shifted the voice of the email where it didn't necessarily start. It started out more kind of to the group, and then you tailored that individually. But any other thoughts maybe for people in the room who might be thinking about either starting or tweaking an email about, you know, how you can get that balance of sections and information?
I think it goes back to the authenticity and being genuine and creating a real connection with the person that is receiving what you're putting out.
So we've cruised through like 7 years in, 30 minutes or whatever. So let's,
Shout out to Alpha Graphics.
yes, can we get Alpha Graphics? They've got some special shirts on. I need y'all to stand up real quick. Come on, come on. Yeah. Yes.
Easily my most strategic partner. Yeah.
They've been on board pretty much since day one, close to it.
Yeah, day 5, maybe.
Day 5. And we will give an extra shout out because in the car accident that Rob talked about in the video that you saw at the beginning, all of the art, he said that, all the art that he brought with him to New Jersey was destroyed. And Alpha Graphics, kind of unbeknownst to Rob, saw that online, reprinted everything for him, overnighted it to him at no charge. And it was really one of the main reasons why he was able to have it. So, community partners, it's so important too, not only the work that we are all doing, but who we work with. That can play such a big role in your success, and they've been able to grow with Rob, and they're doing some really cool stuff now, so glad you guys are here.
Thank you guys.
So let's fast forward now to the present. So now you are mostly managing your own social. I get to do a little bit.
She does Facebook.
Just Facebook.
I hate Facebook.
He really hates Facebook.
Really?
One day I'll make it to Instagram. You have your weekly newsletter. You're doing the video. You are obviously making art. That's got to be the #1 thing. Then there's the other side of it that I'm sure a lot of us run into, which is the customer service side, because you still do a lot of the fulfillment. You've got your administrative tasks. So I know that this is a buzzword that comes up a lot, but I think it's still a challenge for probably all of us in this room, is that balance, that work-life balance. So how do you make sure that you still at least have a little breathing room, a little time to unwind, where you're not just attached to that screen or to the drawing table until the wee hours?
I have learned, especially the older I get, you can tell, got a few years on me, but I've learned that if I try to do one of those late night things, the quality of work I do the next day sucks. And so there's no real point. And I also try to start the day off, instead of just going straight up and working, I'll go and I'll read for about an hour. I'll maybe go get some breakfast. Kind of a slow start, and go into it very fresh. Also, like before I start painting, I'll go through and through my emails, I'll look through social, see if there's any like immediate things I need to address. And then I'll start working, and then like I said, like while the paint's drying, I'm working on something else, whether it's more social or again checking email. And I try to stop around about 7. Initially, the 7 o'clock stop time was because that's when Monday Night Raw starts, because that's part of the job too. And I need to be engaging on that way. But also, it is nice, like, look at this woman I'm married to. I want to see her occasionally. And I am fortunate in that Katie is also an entrepreneur and is doing essentially the same thing I am, but in a different field. So she understands sometimes there will be nights where I have to work late. When all this started taking off, I think there was like a several-month period where I never took a day off, and she finally started forcing me to at least take Sundays off. And sometimes that doesn't work out because I have the very good problem of having a lot of demands on me, but I try to be very cognizant of that.
And there's social media, I think especially, has been instrumental to the growth of your business. But we all know there's a toxic side to the socials. Those trolls.
Yeah.
And I like how you've come up with really kind of just a very simple 2-part question that, again, ties into something that is very important to your business, which is delivering customer service. But talk us through just a little bit about, maybe no examples, but some of the negativity you've seen and how you use this mindset to kind of push through that?
Yeah, it's finding the balance of, is this an actual customer service issue? Or is this someone that's having something bad happening in their life and they're projecting it onto me? And treating both accordingly. All the social media platforms have these amazing functions on them called mute, unfollow, and block. And I use them liberally. Because, especially with the pro wrestling thing, it's almost like I'm running a brand that gets like a combination of extreme religious people and extreme political people, like that kind of like really out there stuff. I'll have targeted at me sometimes, and sometimes it can be individuals where like something's happening with them, but I don't want to be a part of it, and I don't want to get attached to what I'm putting out. So I'll make honestly, every time hard decision to block someone. Other times I'll just mute, like, more because like, what they're saying is always kind of odd, right? But not really anything more than that. I also, at the end of the day, have an email contact form on my website, so that if someone has, a very specific customer service thing, they can reach out to me. And then also, like, I've had it where it's very personal, where it's like one or two people that are upset that I picked someone else for the alphabet. But then also, I've had a couple times where I've had like targeted harassment campaigns against me. Like people made like anti-Rob Schamberger YouTube videos and crap over video game stuff that I did a painting for. And on that, like extreme things like that, I just went dark on social media for a week. I just put the damn phone down. I went, we live in Brookside, so I just went walking around and looked at Brookside for about a week. I read some books, pet my cats, and Katie was, occasionally just kind of watching all this bullshit still coming in. And when it finally kind of died off, she's like, okay, you're clear now. And like the people that were like the most extreme, I blocked. You reported, but really this stuff, even when it seems really dire in the moment, it dies off so quick.
That's good perspective.
And it started therapy.
Yes, therapy! So I think I don't think people in this room, we're all in the mix. We know social media, we know video, email, the whole digital marketing strategy pays off. But I think we probably still encounter bosses or clients or other people that are like, do I really need to spend time there? Like, what's my ROI? What's it worth? And Rob, I wanted you, as we're kind of taking this home, because again, another thing I think that's important too is this is all a long game, right? I mean, you can go viral, you can see a sudden explosion of activity for sure, but this is really something that, we're all doing over the long haul. We're not just, popping in on Twitter for a year and then deuces, we're done. I mean, we're really, this is what we do. And so I'm curious, as you've looked back at these last 7 years, again, it's really number one is about the art and then encouraging sales and building your visibility. But then you've had some really exciting opportunities and growth that maybe you didn't think would happen in the beginning. And I'm curious if you can tell us a little more about some of these things that have happened and kind of how what you do online has paved that way.
Sure. It's about visibility. Right, like there's not a McDonald's on every corner because everyone loves McDonald's. There's McDonald's on every corner. I love McDonald's. I mean, 2 egg and cheese biscuits. There's a McDonald's on every corner to remind you that there's a McDonald's on every corner. And I kind of have that in mind too. I want to constantly be visible. I want to constantly be part of the conversation about pro wrestling, right? Like, I want people to constantly have me in their mind. If I'm not top of mind, I'm second in mind. And because of that, a lot of the licensing partners that work with WWE, like Topps, 2K, and Mattel, saw what I was doing that way. And then maybe we meet at WrestleMania access, or they reach out to WWE to make an introduction. But we start working that way, and then that gets me out to an even wider audience. Like Mattel, when they started working with me, they had me do paintings that came with the action figures. And so for a year, and during that year, it was the #1 action figure line in the world, and every one of them had my name on the front saying, "Collective Painting by Rob Schamberger." And getting that real world visibility tied in with the digital side as well, and continuing to what we've been talking about, having that authenticity. They can see exactly who they're going to be working with. My personality on social is the same in person, except for I drop more F-bombs in person. Otherwise, it's about the same. So the customers already have comfort of working with me that way.
And I think that's a great point too. And even those of us who are representing brands and companies, we obviously can still tap into that personality. That's what I tell my clients all the time. Every single business has a story. Every company has a story. Every company, every business has a voice. And so maybe you have the exciting opportunity to kind of figure out what that is and kind of lead the way. Maybe it's already established and that's just something that you're kind of picking up, and maybe you're spreading it to a wider audience online. But yeah, I think no matter who you work with, I think that or represent yourself or your clients or whoever, that keyword authenticity is really important.
I'm very smart.
But at the end of the day, Rob, what's it all about?
The #1 thing that people engage with the most are the paintings. That's what they care about the most. The other stuff is tangential, it's informative, but those things aren't as important as the artwork itself. And so I keep that in mind, right? Like, I don't want to become an internet celebrity. I want my artwork to be. I make it about the art, not about me with the cats, even though, yes, I did start off a video with one of my cats. I've actually started several videos with the cats, but it's about the artwork, and it's there to help the end consumer have a personal relationship with the artwork.
And I think that's important too. I think, all of us can look at it again, what's our art? What's our main driver? What's our main goal? And then look at how we can support that and all the things you've done, all those conversations you're having, those interactions, the personal emails, the videos, but it's still united by kind of that driving purpose. And I think, if we can look at the work we're doing and find that similar purpose, that can be definitely an important and strategic guide for what we're actually creating.
Absolutely. Yeah, it all comes together, but at the end of the day, it's about that thing I'm trying to get across.
All right. Thank you guys so much. I think we've got just a couple minutes for questions, if anyone has them.
You didn't talk about the takeovers. How did those come about? Did you pitch them, or did they come to you and say, do a takeover?
For the takeovers I've done for Rob?
Yes.
That was your idea.
That was, yeah. Katie has done social media takeovers for other brands, like Power and Light and
Downtown Irvine Park, Geek Magazine.
and the Dan Gable Museum.
Yeah.
And I saw what she was doing there, and I thought, well, what if I've got such tunnel vision on what I'm doing? Maybe Katie could have a different perspective, just like she did for those others, and we got a tremendous response on that.
And it was really neat too, being able to take Rob's emphasis on the personal. And I just, what I really wanted to do was just pull back that curtain even more. I did the takeover as we were getting ready for a show in Chicago that was going to immediately be followed 2 weeks later by what you saw, WrestleMania 35. So that's our busiest time of the year. and it's really crazy, and I wanted to, you know, pull that back. Here is what a typical day looks like during this period. It's not always like this, but, you know, inviting people into the fold with us, because as Rob said in his video to start, there's so many people that have made what he does possible, and I think both of us spend as much time as we can expressing how grateful we are and wanting those people to know that they are side by side with us every step of the way.
So you were talking before about when you're painting, you're in the zone and you liked it. Well, when you're also setting up 2 cameras and moving around for your show, how does that impact your zoneness?
At first, it was very difficult. The videos at first weren't that great. And it was finding that combination of constantly reviewing the video that I was making. Like, oh, I should have moved the cameras more. Or when I was doing this certain technique, I should have gotten right in on that. And so it's been an evolution of that. And so now, yes, I'll keep in mind, like, but with watercolor, you work, like, there's water, right? You have to wait for it to dry. And so while one coat is drying, I'll move the cameras around so that when I come to that next part, it's, you know, like a different cut in the video as well.
What would you say the ratio is between doing the work and promoting the work for you?
Good question.
Yeah, actually making the paintings is maybe about 15%. The rest is talking about it. And also like all the business side of things, right? Like invoicing, interfacing with the clients, working up new deals. I'm always trying to improve my footing with WWE to continue to improve myself to them. All of the business side of things definitely take up a lot more time and brain power. But luckily too, like while I'm painting, I can think about those things as well. But yeah, like as far as like the man hours, it'll be about 15%.
Thank you, great presentation. Thank you both. That's great.
Thank you.
And congratulations on all the videos. That's a great resource. I'm wondering what you've learned from 0 to 280. How it's changed, maybe the length, any kind of production things you've learned.
Luckily, starting out, WWE was able to give me specifications because they've had 8 years of figuring this stuff out. So I had that shorthand at the beginning. They want like 2 to 4 minutes, like not shorter, not longer. That's about how long people will interact with something on YouTube, especially the YouTube audience skews very young. And also like talking with the people that produce the content there. And it's anti everything in my brain with the kind of like filmmaking that I'm into. But you don't want to stay on a cut longer than 10 seconds, and I've found really not longer than 6 seconds. And with YouTube, and especially with how deep into the data WWE goes, they can see exactly where someone stops watching in the video. And we've been able to learn those kind of things. Also, yeah, continually moving the camera around, moving the cut around, working on the audio part. Like a lot of time is just like speed video of the painting and then me narrating over it. Sometimes I'll talk directly about what you're seeing on there. Other times I'll talk about inspiration or things like that. And constantly shaping things up that way. Also with the speed video, I'll have I'll shift my speed. I'll have some that are like real fast, I'll have others that are like real time. Sometimes I'll do it more documentary style, like you saw with the WrestleMania video at the beginning. It's constantly changing up the format, so for the people that are tuning in every week, it keeps it engaging for them.